wanted to share something that just happened as I was leaving the house. So part of my story, along with me having my own chronic pain journey, my husband has also had a chronic pain journey. Interesting, right? Sometimes we draw partners that we resonate with, and one of the things that we resonated with, I mean, we always draw partners that we resonate with, is with pain, right? And there was a time when I did not have the best attitude towards it, and I recognized how my unpleasant attitude was making my pain worse when I went to massage school. And then I started working and shifting it and becoming a more optimistic person. Initially, no, it wasn't optimism. It was positivity. I was so positive all the time, and it was just too much. And then I married someone that, because of his level of chronic pain and nervous system dysregulation due to that intense positivity was actually made him uncomfortable. It was too much. It was too intense on his nervous system. And I also realized that it was too intense on mine. Now, I had been very negative for many years, right? I was very pessimistic. I was also in pain. That's the thing. When you're in pain, it's very hard to have an optimistic perspective when you're in chronic pain. It's just your body is under attack. Your vessel is constantly feeling attack, and it's looking for attackers from the outside. But it's coming from the inside. The call is coming from inside the house. Anyhow, I realized that after I found out that other people weren't in pain all the time, and chronic pain was something that I experienced, and other people too, but not as many as I realized. And it wasn't that I had shitty coping skills. Like in high school, I always thought, like, well, maybe everybody else is just better at coping with their pain. And because I was raised in the Christian tradition with the story of Adam and Eve, I believed that the pain that I was in was because we were cast out of Eden. And I thought that everybody was in chronic pain. I thought everyone had chronic pain. No, I had an accident when I was 3 that knocked my head off to the side, and then after that I had chronic pain. And then my parents, because they're like, oh, children shouldn't hurt, they invalidated my pain. And now research has shown that if you tell people that their pain isn't real, what happens? It increases, and it increases depression. So I was a depressed youth, who was suicidal quite often, and had an interesting journey. Anyhow, in my 20s, I learned to shift, and I shifted over. And I think one of the things that brought me in partnership with my husband was that resonance with pain and chronic pain, and understanding what it's like to live life with a limited bandwidth, which works out for us, because I've seen partnerships where one person is very able-bodied and the other person looks able-bodied on the outside, but because of hypermobility or fibromyalgia, they do not have the same bandwidth as that able-bodied person to do, and it puts a lot more pressure and strain on the relationship. So when both people are less able-bodied and limited, that's the thing. Well, I start my self-care. I really get into shifting the mind, realizing that my extreme positivity was putting as much pressure on my nervous system as my negativity had been putting on my nervous system. So I started shifting towards optimism instead of positivity, because optimism allows for all the feelings, all of the emotions have their space, and we trust that we can get through it because it's temporary, and whatever we're going through we will learn from. And so it's optimal, and we have an optimal response to a stressful situation. That's optimism. Pessimism is what happens when we're having a suboptimal response, and really that's what it comes down to. It's not positive or negative, it's just optimal and suboptimal. There's less than optimal and then there's optimal, and pessimism weighs us down, holds us back, slows us down. It's like the brake pedal. It's heavy, it's contagious. So is optimism. Both are contagious. The thing is that as animals that we are, these bodies that we embody are still basically cavemen, and as cavemen, as a pack, the mirror neurons, one of those developments there is like we rise up to protect each other. So our amygdala gets stirred up like that. And if someone else has a stirred up amygdala, then our mirror neurons recognize that stirred up amygdala, and we rise up to match that frequency of stirred up, because our nervous systems are looking for the saber-toothed tiger. And now we're looking for the saber-toothed tiger that is potentially tracking us, but there's no tiger. So it's a protective mechanism that has gone awry in this age, because we have so much information and so much data coming in. And then on top of that, paired with many of us having been raised by generations of very strongly opinionated people who like to inflict their opinions upon others. And to survive our childhoods, we had to learn to take those opinions very, very seriously. And then we learned to take our own opinions very seriously. And then we continue to surround ourselves with people who take opinions very seriously, because we think it's normal to inflict our opinions upon others and be deeply dissatisfied with the world if it doesn't match our unreasonable expectations of reality. So our poor bodies take all of these things so seriously. Anyhow, so my husband, chronic pain. As I've gone on my journey and improved, I've gotten better. I feel better. And he doesn't. Yes? And so that emphasizes to him, whenever I come into his space, how bad he feels. I remind him of how bad he feels. And I realize that I have that effect on a lot of people. It's not deliberate, it's not intentional. It's just that once you start resonating within wellness and taking care of yourself, and you genuinely feel better, your frequency and your vibe is in a different space. And people who don't resonate with that will feel uncomfortable. And some of them will lash out in ways unintentionally, just to get you to match their frequency or vibration so that they can feel comfortable. So in those situations, we have compassion for their vessel. Recognize that it is actually the narcissistic program that is a protector program that's run amok, that's trying to get the world around them to change so that the vessel can feel better, which will never happen, right? I mean, to a certain extent, yes, we can make changes, but we can look at the world and see, it's not how I prefer, and that's okay. I will see there is that which I prefer. I'm going to go in that direction, and that which is not my preference, I will navigate away from, without having the feeling of needing to destroy that which is not, or hate that which is not our preference. There's no need to send any ill will, and just because we don't like something, we don't need to feel ill will towards it, because that ill will affects our nervous systems, and that affects our vessels, because our vessels take those opinions that we have about whatever we're seeing as serious threats, and it's not real. They're just opinions. But once you pair that opinionated program, that strongly opinionated program, with chronic pain, it makes it even harder to break the loop. So, husband's pain is higher. He's very frustrated because he's basically been overstretching, overdoing, which I tell him not to do, but how that goes, and so he's now backing off, and I'm like, well, I would love if you would just try some laughter yoga. And his response was, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. Which we know you can do, he can do when he's doing the dishes, when he's sweeping, when he's watering the garden, when he's there's all sorts of moments that we can put laughter into our day. But I recognize, I'm like, well, for one, he expressed that with less intensity than he would have, so we've made progress there. But also, wow, that program, that protector program, those protector programs just do not want to allow him to feel better. And the reason why, this is my deep sense, and I feel that which affects affects my partner is just a reflection of that which affects a lot of humans. And so that which I wish for him, I wish for everyone, myself included. Which is that we take care of ourselves, because when we take care of ourselves, we are more likely to be embodied by our higher selves, because it's more comfortable to inhabit these human vessels. And when we're dysregulated and uncomfortable, it is very likely that our higher selves may exit, because it becomes so uncomfortable and unbearable to be inside the human vessel that we just go. And then unfortunately, if you have a vessel that's vacated of its navigator, either other entities could potentially come in and take over the spaceship that benefit from the spaceship's dysregulation and will maintain that dysregulation, or it could even just be as simple as those protector programs that have run amok wanting to maintain control of the spaceship, maintaining a dysregulated spaceship so that they can stay in control of the vessel, and you have this disembodied spaceship that is in a state of suffering. And so I now practice having compassion for the spaceship and wishing that the spaceship do what it needs to make itself comfortable enough to be embodied by its higher self within regulation, right? So anyhow, long story, yeah? Thank you for joining me on my drive to work this morning. My point is this. If you notice resistance in people to laugh, it's because they are so overcome, taken over. Within their dysregulation, these protector programs have really entrenched themselves into their spaceships in such a way that they do not want to let go of that spaceship to allow the higher self to embody, because they feel like they won't get to exist because we won't need them. And it's true. We don't need. What do we need to be protected from? In a world where people communicate and cooperate and collaborate and share. And we live in a time and age where it's possible to do so, to collaborate and cooperate and share. We have the technology to make it possible through 3D printers and CNC printers to create the infrastructures for people to have all sorts of things, right? I'm not going to go in all of the directions that we could go into there, but anyhow, so just for yourselves, have compassion for the vessel. We wish that they feel better so that they can be more embodied